Welcome to the PrepZone Show, presented by Bevel State. I'm Jonathan Bentley, your host, joined by my co-host, Zak McCullough. Zak, this is a little bit of a special edition today.
It is. We're breezing through it as quickly as possible, so you've mentioned no tangents. So
that's right, yeah. And we're heavy on the tangents, as you know. But we're without a producer this week, so he'll be back next week. But we have a lot of games to go through anyway.
That's true.
You know, we don't want to skip a week here. There's only a handful of weeks anyway. Okay, let's start with last week's games. Let's go straight to the top here. Jasper 30, Coleman 29.
And Jasper, a late touchdown, we'll mention it in a minute, but a late touchdown puts it away. Trailed by 6 points late in that one, and we're able to come back and get the victory. Very nearly, though, the fourth straight loss to Coleman, but Jasper's able to survive.
Yeah, they finally win one like Coleman does. Right, we had Cordova beating Curry 41-14. Kind of what we expected there. Carbon Hill 62, Hansville 41.
Yeah, congratulations to Carbon Hill getting their first win of the season. It was high scoring. We know that the Carbon Hill offense has been very good, but in this game they ran the ball for 530 yards, so that shows that they can push it around on the ground too.
Not the norm, yes. 500, usually a win.
Yes.
All right, Hamilton 42, Dora 0. Dora continues to struggle to score. Phil Campbell, this one hurt, 36, Oakman 30. That's 3 one-score losses for Oakman in 4 games.
That's rough. I mean, they could legitimately be undefeated.
Yes.
Looking at how it's been, and but they sit at 1-3, so it's unfortunate for Oakman this year.
All right, got Lynn 34, Pickens County 25 on the road. It's a big win for Lynn.
Very big. Pickens having a down year, so it's good that Lynn was able to take advantage of that and get a win.
Yeah, anytime you win, there's a big deal. Ramsey hands Corner its first loss, 34-14.
And it was Ramsey's first win, so a bit of an upset there. Very surprised, obviously. Corner last year they dropped a game we didn't expect. Briarwood, who was 1-5. Now they lose to an 0-3 Ramsey team, but I've got faith that Corner will turn it around.
Yeah, I think Ramsey was well better than that record. All right, Red Bay 29, Winston County 28.
Man, an upset. It looked like Winston County had that region in hand, and then they lose to Red Bay at region.
Now it's thrown
so it's
into
wide
chaos.
Open, and we'll see what happens with it.
And 2 high-scoring games here: Meek 60, Phillips 6, and Addison 66, Cherokee 0.
Both very dominant wins over lesser opposition. Good for these teams that are both fighting to host a playoff spot by the end of the season.
Yeah, they needed those, especially Meek there. All right, so we'll jump straight to Player of the Week, since we're kind of skipping tangents here. And it goes to Tom Ledbetter this week. You saw him last week.
I did. I saw him in person. He was dominant. It felt like he was in on every play. 13 rushes, 199 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also had 13 total tackles. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was in the win over Curry. Big win for Cordova. They had to have it to keep their playoff hopes alive. And we go to the Play of the Week, which is kind of something we don't normally do, but this really deserves mentioning. You can cover that one.
I can. Lincoln Smothers, a 17-yard touchdown run with 20 seconds left with his team trailing by 6 to tie the ball game. The extra point was good, and Jasper breaks Coleman's heart in a big rivalry.
Yeah, I'll give Oliver Mosley some credit there on that clutch extra point to win the game.
Yes, kickers deserve credit.
Yes. I mean, that's a big kick for a high school kicker. A lot of pressure there. All right, so we'll jump into this week's games. So it's going pretty quickly. But I guess the biggest game is the top of the list here. Athens 2-1 at Jasper 3-0.
A big game.
Actually 4-0.
Yes, you mentioned 3-0, but they are 4-0. They've won 4, lost none. Really came close to losing last week, so I'm sure this week in practice hasn't really been fun for the Vikings. But Athens, I think they're a really good football team, but no match for Jasper, especially in Jasper, so I'm going with the Vikings.
I agree. That same reason at home. If it was at Athens, it'd be tougher. Athens is a lot like Coleman, so it could be a close game. They're going to have to play well. All right, Vinemont 2-1 at Carbon Hill 1-3.
Carbon Hill, they have some life after that win last week. They threw the ball a lot to start the season, and then we mentioned they just ran the ball all over the place last week, and it worked. So I would expect for Carbon Hill to do that again. I'm going Vinemont, but I think it could be close.
I'm going Vinemont as well. Just, Carbon Hill threw the ball, like you mentioned. Their quarterback was out last week, and they ran it and went to perfection, so they probably need to run it a little bit more. Probably will again this week, but I am going Vinemont on that one. Hamilton 4-0 at Curry 2-2, a game you'll be at.
Yeah, Hamilton's just a fantastic football team. Curry, hey, they're 2-2 at this point in the season, which I'll admit I didn't expect to see. So it's been a good season for Curry thus far. but it is Hamilton. So I'm going with the Aggies. I think they'll win pretty easily.
Yeah, remember Hamilton had like 3 or 4 bad years in a row, and here they are 4-0. This is what everybody expected kind of this year. Cordova 2-2 at another good team in that region at Good Hope 4-0, and I think they're ranked 5th.
That region is very powerful at the top, where you've got Good Hope, you've got Hamilton, and then you've got a Fayette County team whose only loss was at Gordo. So the top of that region is very tough. We'll see how that shakes out, but Cordova making the trip up to Coleman to play Good Hope, probably not going to end well for the Blue Devils. So,
Yeah, they have a really tough early schedule. They'll make hay at the back end of the schedule.
That's right.
All right, Hanceville 0-4 at Oakman 1-3. Is this get well timed for Oakman?
It is a much needed win for the Wildcats. I think they win it very big.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Carbon Hill beat them 3 touchdowns at Hanceville. So yeah, I expect a lot of numbers from Oakman this week. All right, Dora, 2 struggling teams here. This is a tough pick. Dora 0-4 at Fultondale 0-4. Neither team has really had a close game.
But neither team, I think, is as bad as their record. I mean, they've both had tough schedules. This is a Fultondale team that had a fantastic year last year, finished 3rd in the playoff, but then they found out there was an eligible player. They had to forfeit. They technically only won 2 games. Then after forfeits, it knocked them out of the playoffs, and they have not bounced back well at all. That being said, this one's in Fultondale, so I'm going with Fultondale, but I think it'll be close.
I'm going Dora on this one.
I hope they get that first win. I really
do. The reason for that, I have no idea. I just think they're better than them. I mean, like you said, the schedule's just, you really can't tell anything from Dora right now. The schedule's brutal. All right, Addison, and maybe the game of the week in this area. Addison 4-0 at Hackleburg 3-0. 2 ranked teams going against each other.
This is one that I went back and forth on because it's at Hackleburg, but Addison is so good. And Hackleburg is pretty good, but I honestly think that Addison's the better team, so I'm picking the Bulldogs to beat the Panthers.
Yes, if this was at Addison, it'd be no doubt, and I'm also picking Addison. But wait, going to Hackleburg. We've seen Hackleburg.
Right, they're
and
good.
Lynn played them well.
Yeah, Lynn had them very close. Of course, Lynn also beat Addison in the Jamboree, but that was a Jamboree, so it didn't actually count. So this will be a fun game, and Hackleburg's not a bad drive, so check it out. It should be worth your time.
Yeah, that's a really, really good 1A game right there. Another 1A game, Waterloo 2-1 at Meek 2-2.
Meek, they've hit that home stretch of the schedule where they've got pretty much Addison left, and then after that, games that they should win. Of course, who knows? It's high school football. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
But I think Meek continues and gets its 2nd win in a row. I think the Tigers win.
Yeah, I think they'll win big. That's a very long trip. It's kind of in between Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee, Waterloo. All right, Cold Springs in a non-region game, which is strange this time of year. Cold Springs 3-1 at Winston County 2-2.
I think Cold Springs is a really good football team, better than a lot of people expect. But it is at Winston County. This is a Winston County team that is going to be focused and motivated coming off of the loss last week. So I'm picking the Winston County Yellow Jackets to win very big.
Me too, as at home as well, and I think they are going to be mad. They had a lot of mistakes last week, stuff they don't normally do, and it cost them a 1-point loss. We'll mention 2 other teams here. Lynn gets a forfeit win over Somebody Christian this week.
Yeah, because Somebody Christian, because it was so late before they canceled the schedule,
very late.
They had to forfeit all of their games. So it counts as an automatic win for Lynn. So that'll advance them to 3-2 on the season.
That's right. Yeah,
so they're in the winning record now. And Corner they are off this week, so they'll have an extra week to stew on that loss, which is not fun.
No.
But that just means they'll be extra motivated coming out of the bye.
Yeah, I think they get Jacksonville when they come back. All right, so we'll jump to our next thing here. We usually do the top 5, but since this is abbreviated, so it says 5, so we're down to 3 this week.
I think it was.
I think it needed to be 3
yeah,
too.
It's very simple because I think we still have a clear 3 best teams. So if it would have been 5, there would have been tough decisions between Meek, Winston County, and Cordova. But because it's 3, it's very clean and easy. So with my 3rd spot, the Yellow Jackets of Corner, even though they lost, still I think they're one of the 3 best teams we have.
I put Meek at 3rd.
Okay.
I did not have Corner on there this week, but yeah, I mean, Corner, they'll bounce back. They'll be fine. But I think Meek's going on the move, kind of like last year at this point.
Yeah, they'll be back up in this list before long. In 2nd place, I have Jasper. Good win. I know it's only by 1 to a winless Coleman team, but that's at your biggest rival. You will take any win you can get in that situation. The Vikings are going places this year.
Jasper is my number 1.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean, they're 4-0.
Yeah.
So we'll go with your number 1, which is my number 2.
Yes, my number 1 is Addison. Yes. That means your number 2 is Addison. The Bulldogs have been dominating. Have not been a close game this year on the schedule, and I think that's going to continue. So Addison, maybe this week it'll be close, but after that, the schedule's pretty easy with the exception of Meek and Good Hope, which should be fun.
Yeah, the very tough non-region game there. All right, so that finishes up our high school games this week. So we'll jump into college. where Auburn is coming off a good win. Alabama, you were there as usual.
I was there.
Wisconsin.
They
drilled them.
Looked like an NFL team for the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter just looked terrible. But hey, a win is a win over a Power 5 opponent, or well, Power 4 now, because the Pac-12 is rest in peace. But it's a good win, only by 24 at the final score, but I think it was a bigger win than that. So now it's a bye week, and then at Georgia.
That'll be fun.
And I haven't, to this point, haven't really changed my mind on Alabama, but they did what they had to do after the Florida State loss. So there's hope for Alabama.
Yes, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
You know, you can say you're playing not great teams, but this is what you're supposed to do, not great teams. And Auburn picked up a group of 6, which is also strange to say. A group of 6 win over South Alabama, not very impressive, 31-15. Maybe they weren't trying to show much, I hope. So
right. Saving it all up for this week.
Oklahoma, yeah, you didn't want to show anything, but it was not impressive. So both teams looking pretty good. I mean, Auburn's 3-0, ranked for the first time in years, so things are going well, but it's about to get very, very tough. Did you have any other games you wanted to mention?
I do have some picks, but there are very few. In the SEC, Arkansas at Memphis. If you're an SEC school, why would you schedule a trip to a lesser opponent like that on the road?
Oklahoma going to Temple last week.
Why would you do that? But do you think Memphis has a chance to pull the upset, or do you think Arkansas wins?
I think Arkansas wins. They're actually pretty good. A lot of these teams have been better than I thought they were going to be.
That's right.
Arkansas is one of them.
It was close last week, their game against Ole Miss, so I'm picking Arkansas as well. And then I really wanted to focus on this one because, let's be honest, there's really not much of a good slate in the SEC this week. But I want to focus on Oklahoma and Auburn. But first, Miami and Florida. It's at Miami. Florida, they looked all right against LSU, I guess.
Better than I thought.
Do they have a chance to pull off the major upset on the road?
You know, they weren't bad, but you can't win with a guy throwing 5 interceptions. I just don't. I think he'll mess up again.
Yes, DJ Lagway.
Yes, it has been terrible.
He was originally going to go to Alabama, but he changed his mind.
You don't need
It's for the best because Alabama has a Ty Simpson that looked pretty good last week. Pretty good the last 2 weeks. Terrible the first week. We'll see how he does in 2 weeks. And then the final game, Auburn at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I was hoping Oklahoma was overrated, but maybe they're actually good.
They might be.
Their quarterback is better than the one that we got from them. So Jackson Arnold goes home. This is probably not going to end well. If Auburn competes well, that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe it's a close game. Maybe they somehow pull the upset, but I'm definitely thinking Oklahoma in this one.
Well, I mean, Auburn, I think they're going to have a really good season this year, and it starts with going on the road in the SEC and beating quality opponents. Oklahoma, they're ranked 11th. I think that's overrated. Auburn is ranked, 21st?
22nd.
22nd. I think that's underrated. So I'm picking Auburn to go on the road and pull off the upset.
That is a big upset. And they have Texas A&M on the road next week. So they need
not
one of these.
Well. Texas A&M, saw what they did last week at Notre Dame.
These
Texas
teams
A&M is a really good team. So
yes.
If you're going to compete in the SEC, you've got to win the hard games. And we'll see if Auburn can do that.
Okay.
That's it. Only 3 because it's really not much of a slate.
Yeah.
Alabama has a bye
really
week, of course. So does Georgia. So.
Yeah, we had the big games last week.
Yes.
Some of the big
and
games.
next week it'll be even better.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Alabama at Georgia, very exciting. All right, so that wraps up our brief show here. We want to thank, again, Bevel State for sponsoring, and we'll be back at full strength with Jake next week, and we'll see you then.